The Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga announcing this week that grade 7s and grade 12s will be the first group of pupils to return to school on the 1st of June. Schools, as you know, have been closed for over 2 months, all in a bid to slow the spread of COVID-19. But the move to return has not been without criticism, some saying the Basic Education Department's plan has been vague. Let me introduce you now to Trevor McArthur. He's a sociology lecturer at the University of the Western Cape. He says the minister did everything else but provide clarity and certainty. He's on your screen. He joins us via Skype. Trevor, good afternoon to you. What then are your principal concerns here? Where was the clarity and the certainty lacking?
Hi, good afternoon, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. So that's exactly as you were saying. I mean, I was pointing out that it remains unclear, even to today. It's unclear what evidence the minister used to base the decision to open schools, especially for grade 7s and 12s, on the 1st of June. We still don't know. So the minister had her press briefing, I think it was on Tuesday night, and the purpose of that was really to give us the clarity, to tell us, to take us into a confidence, and to say that we've used this, that, and the other, to inform our decision. And I was pointing out in my article that she did everything but that. So we are still unclear what evidence she used to back up those claims.
Whether there's evidence or not, surely at some point we've got to make the decision to return to the classroom, given what is being lost within the education dynamic, surely.
Surely, yes. I think we do need to reopen schools at some point. We cannot be in as I think the president said, as a sort of permanent lockdown. However, I'm pointing out that if we are going to open schools, we need to have some certainty around what the Department of Basic Education is going to do to ensure that the reopening of school does not lead to the further spread of the coronavirus.
So what would you have wanted then the minister have said in that respect, given, for instance, that she has touted the just-in-time model by providing the resources and the utilities that are needed? Is that not enough?
No, not at all. So what we know, what I've argued in my piece is that, so when we look at schooling in South Africa, we need to understand that schooling are highly unequal. So I've suggested that we have two schooling systems, in essence, one schooling system catering to the wealthy and the other schooling system catering to the poor. So my concern is not that the one schooling system, which really accounts for 20% of the schooling system in South Africa. So I'm not concerned that they will not be able to successfully implement, the various factors to prevent the further spread of the coronavirus. What I'm pointing out is that the overwhelming majority of schools in South Africa will simply not be able to do that. For example, one of the key strategies to prevent the further outbreak is, for example, social distancing. So how are we going to have social distancing in a class where we have, anything between 40 to 60 learners in a class? So now we know, for example, yesterday the MEC for Education in Gauteng said that there was going to be some form of staggering. But I was just thinking, so if we currently, without being in the pandemic, we've not been able to fill crucial vacancies, for example, in science, sort of life science, physics, maths. So how do they propose this is going to work in practice? So I was just, I'm just not convinced, and that's what I was pointing out. Firstly, schools, the majority of schools do not have the capacity. They do not have the infrastructure, and there's certainly not sufficient support to both principals and teachers for this to realistically be successfully implemented.
And it's that last point that I want to raise just before we conclude. Ultimately, it is going to be up to the teachers and the SGBs, the school governing bodies. Surely they must understand and acknowledge their responsibility in all of this and simply make it work.
Definitely. And you know what? The overwhelming majority of teachers are passionate about teaching. They really want to make this work, but they simply don't have the capacity. For example, we've been led to believe that, for example, the department is going to get support in terms of doing screening, of learners in the morning. But that's just not come to the fore. So I personally know of many schools, that's still not heard they've not gotten any word from the department around, who's going to be doing all of this. What teachers are supposed to be doing is to do teaching. And I honestly don't see how they will be able to do their core business when they have to do everything else, manage social distancing on the playground, in the classroom. They have to fill a whole range of other functions. And I'm saying that the majority of teachers are already overburdened. The whole pandemic affects them as much as they affect everybody else. And one of my concerns has also been it's almost as if the teachers are seen to be machines that you switch on and off. The eminent Professor Jansen made a similar point, but it's just simply not the case. So schooling and so teaching and learning happens within a certain context. And the context, I think, matters. And the context that we are in is a pandemic that is stressing out almost everybody. So I'm just what I was trying to point out is that we've not been convinced in as far as the plans that the government is putting in place will actually work, especially for the overwhelming majority of learners. I just don't see it happen. And we've been asking questions. Journalists have been asking questions even yesterday, but it just seems that we are presented with grand plans, but a lot of that just doesn't seem likely that it's going to happen in that way.
All right, I want to bring you three more perspectives on the story. Trevor McArthur from the University of the Western Cape, thank you for your time.